welcome to the first instalment of my brand new 2025 Mystery Blanket Club, which is the 18th Mystery Blanket Club in my Mystery Blanket Club series. So I am so pleased that you have decided to join me. Now, as you all know, the club has been delayed by a week, so we're starting today on the 7th of February instead of the 1st of February, and that's due to an unexpected stay in hospital right over New Year, or New Year's Eve, right through into the first week and beyond of January. I'm okay, and I'm being treated, and the doctors and nurses have been absolutely fantastic, so I'm okay, and I've packed all the overseas parcels. I've been cracking on with my work, so things are fine. But thank you to everybody who sent in good wishes to me for getting better during the last sort of few weeks. It's been really lovely to hear from you and to have your support. But going forward now, we are now starting the 2025 Mystery Blanket. All of the parcels have been posted, so I'm really hoping that you are sitting there with your knitting kit. If you are not sitting there with your knitting kit, perhaps drop us a line. All the overseas were sent by tracks, so you should be able to access via the Royal Mail website. You'll be able to access a tracking number for your parcel. The UK, unless you paid for special delivery, the UK are standard Royal Mail. But fingers crossed that you've all got your parcels. We decided to delay the club, although the UK could have all had their parcels on time, the patterns would have all been ready on time. But I just would really love everybody, if possible, to make a start on the same day. And I'm really hoping that's possible. So we've got many new members in the club this year, as long as people that have done it, some people that have done it for 18 years. So some of you have been with me right from the beginning, which is actually quite amazing. But for those of you that are new to all of this, my blog is our kind of meeting place every month, and every few months I will catch up with you with a face-to-face intro like this one today, just to see how you all are. But in the meantime, in between, there will be written blogs which will have lots and lots of information, very important information about each mail out that you are sent, lots of tips and advice, also other news about events that I'm running, new projects that I'm launching. So please do read it. It's really important every month. There's lots of information that's very important that would be good for you to know about. Now, this is always a global knitting club, and actually our overseas members are almost neck to neck with our UK. Many people across the USA, an increasing number of people in Australia and Canada, and across Europe too. So it's really lovely to think that people all over the world are going to be knitting my brand new mystery blanket, and I really hope that you enjoy it. So just to clarify, you have received part 1 of your knitting kit, and part 2 we'll start to post out sort of beginning of April, with a view to getting everybody's parcels delivered by the beginning of May. So it's a 2-part parcel, but every month you will receive an emailed mail out from February right through to November. And after the February mail out, the mail outs will be delivered to you into your inbox on the 1st of the month. Those people that have paid for printed patterns, we will post these to you in a hard-backed envelope every month. And for those of you that are patterns only, there's quite a few of you for patterns only this year, the list of what you need for the blanket, for the first part of the blanket, is in mail out 1. It was also in your welcome letter. So hopefully either you'll be raiding your stashes to see what you have in there. It will be great actually to see if anybody fancies doing something completely different with the colours. Do please send me photographs, stories, anything that you can send me if you're a pattern only and you decide to go a little bit off-piste with it. It'll be really interesting to see what you do with the patterns. Or you can just stick to my shopping list of what you need. It's totally up to you. But the patterns only option gives a little bit more scope for the mystery blanket. So one thing I need to mention, because I've had a mountain of emails about this, it's the silt in your kit, which actually isn't in your kit. It's mentioned in the welcome letter, which has been put inside your knitting kit. We had those printed quite a long time ago, and then I had to change the contents of the kit. So we were able to edit and revise the welcome letter, which is sitting in your Debbie Abrahams account, which you can download. That is correct, but the one inside your knitting kit still does say that your kit includes silt, but it doesn't include silt. Silt is going to be in the blanket, but it will be in your second parcel. Okay, so just to be absolutely clear, there is no silt in this package. You should have 16 balls of yarn, well 15 balls and 1 cone, and this is what your kit looks like. Okay, that's the front side there, that's the back side there. Welcome letter, colour coders, 5 packs of beads, 15 balls of yarn and 1 cone of yarn here. Okay, so it would be a really good idea as soon as you get your knitting kit to check the contents and do let us know if anything is missing. Now, I packed all of the overseas. I did them in sets of 10, and I would put money on it that they are all correct. Hopefully, they should be. But if there are any errors along the way, just let us know, and we'll certainly straight away send you whatever you're missing from your kit. Now, I just want to, before I start talking about the squares this month, I just would like to talk about the felted tweed, which felted tweed is a beautiful yarn. It's one of Rowan's best-selling yarns, has been for many, many years. I absolutely love felted tweed, and I hope that you do too, because there's 5 balls in your kit. But it is quite fragile and under a lot of tension. I've had a few reports recently of it breaking, so just be a little bit careful with felted tweed. Treat it very carefully. The worst thing is for you to be knitting with it and it breaks halfway across the row, so just be careful of it, but it does sometimes break, so just be aware of that. The other thing I wanted to bring to your attention was the Blue Haze, the Alpaca Classic Blue Haze, and the Gold Rush 3-ply Silver Lurex, which I've suggested in the pattern, because you're knitting them together. I've suggested that you wind them, I'm going to suggest that you wind them onto bobbins and then you knit those 2 strands together. It's the easiest way to work. If you try to work off the ball and the cone, it can be quite disastrous. It can get quite tangled. And also the tension that the bobbins give the yarns really helps the 2 knit together quite nicely. So that's my tip for working with the Blue Haze and the Silver Lurex. Okay. The colour palette this year is quite muted, blues, greys, beige, biscuit colours, a really soft, gentle palette, and consequently some of the yarns are quite similar in colour. So it's really, really super important that you set up your colour coder. That's the card that's inside your knitting kit, that you tie a little bit of each yarn in your kit onto the coder, write the shade number and the name of the yarn. The shade number is on the ball band of the yarn. It's very, very tiny though. The writing's very, very small, but hopefully maybe with a magnifying glass you'll be able to identify the shade number. The colour name is in mail out 1 on page 2 beside each shade number, and label up your colour coder so that when you come to knit your squares, when you get the list in each pattern of what you need, that you pick up the correct colour. It really is important, otherwise you do risk running out of yarn. So first job, set up your colour coder. I would say the second job is to test your tension. Now tension is really very important, because if you don't match tension, if you're too loose, you'll use far too much yarn and you will run out. It's not so much of a problem if you're on the tight side, because you'll probably find you have yarn left over, but it's important that you do test your tension. You get it as close to the tension I've given in the pattern instructions. That's on page think it's on page 3 of your mail out, there's a section there about tension. So make sure you test your tension. And then when you do knit your squares up, just make sure that when you block and press them, they're blocked and pressed to the same measurement. So each one is the same size. This might mean a little bit of easing in or out where some of the structures are perhaps a little bit tighter or a bit looser. But mine all blocked out to 18 centimetres. If yours are 17.5 or 18.5 or 17 centimetres, it doesn't really matter as long as you're very close to that 18 centimetre measurement. But just make sure they're all the same size. Okay, so on to mail out 1. So this is your first mail out with your first 3 patterns. I've given you 3 patterns only this month, which is a nice gentle introduction to your mystery blanket knitting. And I'm just going to go through the mail out and just point out a few things. So each mail out will be laid out in the same way, that is with some images on the front of what your mail out contains, and then on page 2 you have the list of yarns in the centre there, and the beads, everything that's in your knitting kit. In the left hand column is the list of the squares that you're going to be knitting in that month. So you can see on page 2 it says square 36 surf, square 37 barnacles and square 43 mud flats. Then if you go to page 3, on page 3 will always be your sort of general information page. So that's got information about tension, blocking and pressing, and working in vertical strips. The piecing diagram is on page 4, and on that diagram you will see each month images added in of the squares that you're knitting. So you can see squares 36, 37 and 43 are on the piecing diagrams. You have a piecing diagram for option 1, and when there's a change to a square, I'll talk about the options a little bit later on, you will see a second version, a different version of the square on the option 2 grid. Okay, so the first 3 squares that you're knitting this month, square 36 surf. Now this square is a garter stitch and moss stitch stripe, a nice easy one to start with, but one that you'll have to make a little bit of effort to keep neat. Moss stitch can be notoriously difficult sometimes to keep neat, but you're working on a very small needle, a 2.50 millimetre needle, which should make your stitches extra tight. So you're using silvery blue, white, alabaster and the silver lurex and blue haze held together, which I'm calling in the pattern instructions silver haze. Okay, so on each page then you will see you've got the image of the square. You also have pattern notes and tips to the right hand side of the image, giving you little tips about the pattern to help you knit it, followed by the pattern instructions. Okay, so that's how each pattern is laid out. Your second square to knit this month is square 37 barnacles, which is a lace stitch with slip stitch beads. Now the photography is a little bit dark on some of the images. We've done our very best to make them as clear as possible, but do refer, when you're knitting each square, do refer to the instructions for the colours. Don't just look at the image and think, oh, I think that's mushroom I'm using, or I think that's silt I'm using. Do look at the colours. They are pretty true to the colours in your kit, but sometimes the colour matching isn't quite spot on. So just be wary of that, and also be wary that to fit the squares, the images inside the sort of design area there, sometimes we crop them. So just be aware that some of the stitches at the edge and at the top and bottom may be cropped off. So square 37 barnacles then, your lace stitch with beads, it's slip stitch beads, which means pre-threading your beads onto the yarn, and the threading sequence is on page 8 of your mail out. Okay, and then on to square 43, which is on page 10, mud flat. So this is a cable and moss stitch pattern. For this square actually, and also for barnacles, you're using a slightly smaller needle, 3.25mm. For mud flats, you're also using a 3.25mm needle, just to make that super tight. You'll find that a lot of the Summer Light DK patterns are on 3.25mm, while the ones that are more predominantly felted tweed will be on 3.5. But just check your needle sizes on each pattern page because they do vary. Okay, and for this pattern you can work either from the chart or worded instructions. Okay, so you've got an option there of how you want to work. That's your 3 squares for this month. And after those 3 squares, you have a knitting techniques page. Okay, so the knitting techniques page talks about various techniques that are in the blanket. So for example, there is Fair Isle Intarsia, embroidery on knitted fabric, knitting with beads, and Japanese short row shaping. And on the very last page are your abbreviations, which we do update when there's a new abbreviation in the patterns. So do make sure that you're always working from your most recent abbreviations list. Okay, so that's how the mail out works. That's how it's going to be laid out. You will get between 3 and 6 squares every month. 3 this month. It will be 4 for March and 4 for April, and then we're alternating between 5 and 6 squares from then on to the end of the project. Okay, so building up to 5 or 6 squares a month, just to ease you gently into this project. Now, just a few more things about the blanket I'll talk about. There are no options this month. Now, I give a second option when there is an Intarsia or Fair Isle square, which some knitters might either find difficult to knit or don't want to knit. So when there's an Intarsia or Fair Isle square, there's a second option, and the second option is an easier pattern to knit. It's usually a stripe or a stitch pattern. It might be a cable, it might be a beaded pattern, but it's something that uses the same colours, gets the same kind of effect, but without the colour work. Okay, so just to be clear, there are no options this month, so everybody is knitting the same option. Okay. Knitting in strips or picking up stitches. Now, and picking up stitches, I should say. Now, I write each pattern saying to cast on, but when you've completed the first block at the bottom of the strip, if you look at the piecing diagram, if you see it as 7 strips, okay, across, then I think it's much easier and much neater to pick up the stitches along the top edge of each square to knit the next square on. And I do give you instructions for each square where you can pick up. I give you instructions how to pick up those stitches, where to pick them up. Okay. Now, I always get asked, why pick up stitches? Why don't we just continue knitting? Don't cast off. But the completed blanket will be extremely heavy. Okay, it'll be very heavy. So if you just continue to knit squares and don't have those seams in between, whether they're sewn or whether they're picked up, you will find that the completed blanket could drop, could lose shape. So those seams are really important. They help give the completed blanket shape and strength. So that's my answer. It's still totally up to you how you wish to knit those squares and add them onto each other. But that's my advice and my reason why I would suggest and advise that you pick up stitches. Now, there's tech vids each month to help you with your knitting, so do make sure you check those out. There's links in each blog to the tech vids, and they are available throughout the whole of the project. So if you fall behind or you need to go back and check a technique, they are always there to help you. So I hope you find those useful and a good support while you're knitting your squares. Now, if you happen to live in the Nottingham area, we have monthly meetings at Doreen's wonderful yarn shop called Yarn Loft, which is on Hucknall Road, just round the corner from where I live. Super handy, but also super dangerous because it's literally there on my doorstep, and she has the most gorgeous yarns, wonderful knitting accessories. We hold a meeting there for Mystery Blanket and Cushion members, and it doesn't have to be, if you're working on a previous Mystery Blanket or Cushion from years back and you want to come along, you're absolutely welcome to come along to the meetings. They're on the first Wednesday of the month, However, because we've delayed the beginning of the launch of the club, the first meeting at Yarnloft is on Wednesday, February the 12th. After that, they'll be on the first Wednesday of each month, and we hold them between 4 and 6. So if you can join us, do come along. It's a lot of fun. We always have a great sort of laugh, as well as knitting up our squares, of course, and swapping ideas and helping each other out. So well worth coming to you if you live close by enough to pop in to the meetings. So obviously a huge part of the being in the Mystery Blanket Club is the mystery of the theme, which is going to be, you'll be given clues each month in the squares that you're sent. So look very carefully at the titles, think about the colour palette, any ideas that you have about the title, please do send them in to me, debbie@debbieabrahams.com, and it will be really good fun to see what your ideas of and who gets it right. I mean, it's not a competition, so there's no prize for the first person to guess it correctly. It's just a bit of fun each month. But there is a clue in each written blog. There's like a letter puzzle where I give you an extra letter each month. And I've got a feeling it's quite a simple title this year. I think a lot of you are going to guess it quite early on, but we will see. We will see. So that's a bit of fun while you're knitting your mystery blanket. Guess the title. Just a few other things. I've got some new projects coming up. We have the Mystery Cushion Club launches in March. Now, I've been running the Mystery Cushion for 14 years. This will be the 15th, and it will be the final Mystery Cushion Club. So this is the final Mystery Cushion. If you haven't done a Mystery Cushion before, or it's something on your to-do list, or maybe you've done them all and you want to have the whole collection, then do make sure you sign up. We have limited places. I'd love to have you on board. I've got a super, very, very colourful, crazy theme, which is a real good bang to go out on with the Mystery Cushion. So I do hope you join me. Just watch out for an email in your inbox with an invitation to sign up. And as a Mystery Blanket Club member this year, you will get 10% off your Mystery Cushion Club membership. Plus there's lots of other bonuses when you sign up, if you sign up as an early bird. Okay, so more about that in the next blog, in the written blog, and as I said, you'll all receive an email about it. So I hope you decide to join me. It'll be a lot of fun. Hey, 2 mystery projects in 1 year. Couldn't get better. Okay. Mystery Mother's Day boxes. Okay, so Mother's Day in the UK is at the very end of March. It's on the 30th of March this year. So we will be launching our Mother's Day boxes on the 28th of February, doing a bit of a pre-order. Again, these are limited. So if you fancy a Mother's Day box, either a gift for your mum or for somebody special, or maybe you fancy, you might feel that you deserve a gift. You deserve a nice box of treats, 8 treats in a box, including a brand new knitting kit by me. So they'll be on sale on the 28th of February. And then the final thing that's coming up in the next few months is my Duke Net Cozy, which is the project that I ran in Lockside last October. It's a super colourful Fair Isle cowl pattern. That will be on sale from the 8th of February, actually very soon, from the 8th of February, with a promotion running for 2 weeks on that. So there's some things to put in your diary. So I'm going to sign off now. I bet you're itching to grab your knitting needles and get going. So now is the time to make a start on those first set of squares. If you have any photos, stories, pictures you can send in to me about your mystery knitting, whether you knit in a group and you've got some lovely pictures of the people that you're knitting with, or just your progress or your thoughts on the mystery blanket, please do write in. It's always so lovely to hear from you and to be able to include and share your thoughts and ideas in the blog each month. So don't hold back. Send in any pictures, stories directly to me at debbie@debbieabrahams.com, and with your permission I will share them in the blog. So enjoy knitting your first 3 squares. If you have any queries at all, do contact me at debbie@debbieabrahams.com. I'm always here to help out and support you. Plus you have the written blog. Plus you can look back at this intro where I've given lots of information. And don't forget, we have some fabulous social media platforms. Ravelry have a Debbie Abrahams mystery blanket group, as do Facebook. So do check those out if you want to join a group and you need some help and advice, or you just want to chat with like-minded mystery blanket knitters. So until next month, when it will be a written blog at the beginning of March, I wish you very happy mystery blanket knitting, and I will see you face to face in a couple of months' time. So have fun, everybody, and get knitting.